Hey, brand builders, ready to take your brand to the next level? I'm Dana Ammons, and welcome to the Brand Blueprint.
Welcome back to the Brand Blueprint, your masterclass on how founders build, scale, and sustain their brands. My name is Dana Ammons, and today's episode is part of our sales and distribution capsule, where we are going to be digging into the channel strategies that power real growth. Now, our guest is Logan Cuvo, founder and CEO of Best Damn Tape. You heard that right. His brand name, Best Damn Tape. We're going to learn more about this fantastic brand now in Walmart and across athletic retailers. And we're going to talk a little bit about his retail strategy versus D2C, how he thought through that strategy, and obviously how he is starting the process of executing his retail strategy. Logan's a senior entrepreneurship student at West Virginia University, a lifelong athlete, and a true believer that performance on the field should meet performance at the shelf. Logan, so good to have you here today.
Dana, an absolute pleasure to join you on this. It's amazing. I met Dana not too long ago at he was mentor at our retail brand accelerator, and we just connected automatically. So I'm so happy to be here.
No, I appreciate that as well. Loved meeting you as part of the SeedSpot accelerator. Shout out to SeedSpot, a great organization for those of you who are interested in finding organizations that help you scale your brand. SeedSpot is definitely an organization we would both encourage you to look up. But let's talk a little bit about, before we jump into the interview, I want to actually jump into our rapid fire question and answer segment, because I'm sure my audience is asking, okay, Dana, who is this Logan guy with this Best Damn Tape? So let's talk a little bit about you as a person before we jump into the interview. Are you ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
All right, great. Look, now, standard question on the show, I ask every entrepreneur and founder, coffee or tea?
Coffee all day.
Now, is the coffee any specific order? Do you have one of those really complicated Starbucks orders that I need to write down and like text it to me? Or can you just quick trip coffee and you're good to go?
Nothing like that around here, Dana.
Nope.
Black ice cold brew almost everywhere I go. Just need something quick to wake me up, make me sharp between the ears.
I love that. I love that. So follow-up question to that, hearing that answer, morning person or night owl?
Definitely a morning person. Absolutely. I definitely like to prioritize my sleep. I like to get at least 8 hours a night. So I'm definitely up early in the morning and I love it.
I love that. I love that. Now, this one is tied to your recent work in the space of trying to improve your retail distribution. What was one of your favorite early retail memories? If you have a memory of a retail store or a retail experience that you really loved as a kid, what would that be?
You know, it's so funny you say that, Dana. We're really making the push right now. Hard to retail. Going down to Walmart open call in October, which is absolutely unbelievable. So honored to be able to do that. And I said it when I got interviewed by Walmart. Every time you go to the store with your mom, you're going to Walmart. You're going somewhere that my product can potentially be in and help other people. It's really unbelievable, and it's super surreal, especially as a college kid, that it could potentially touch that many lives.
I love that. I love that. Now, I know you were an athlete in your youth and childhood. Tell us a little bit about your sports background by specifically, I think, name or tell me what the sport is that you didn't play that you most wanted or wished you would have played.
I was an ice hockey player from the time I could walk until 18 years ago. And then I transitioned into this. But the sport that I wish I would have played, it's a great question, Dana. I really wish I would have played tennis. I have grown to like tennis, grown to really appreciate the sport. Also golf too, but tennis for sure.
Now, I'm curious, does the background of hockey translate in terms of swing to either of those sports well, or does it mess you up in terms of learning the swings in those sports?
Tennis, I think it's a little more similar to baseball swing.
Yeah.
Golf, almost spot on. I know.
Is it?
Happy Gilmore 2 just came out. Everyone's raving about that, but it's a thing that a lot of pro players, college players during the off season, they're just going to the links. They're going to play golf.
I love it. I've always been curious about some of those skill sets that transfer, and I was listening to a sports show a couple of days ago comparing kind of athletic skills in different sports and how certain sports require you to do several different things really well that aren't really connected in any meaningful way. Hockey, I think, is one of those things. Like, you automatically have to be a great skater, right? Which has nothing to do with hitting a puck on ice with a stick, which also has nothing to do with tackling and jostling. And there's so many different things that have to come together for you to be a really talented hockey player, not to mention to have the resources or to have a geographic opportunity to actually play or to actually practice your sport. Because I know in most states, especially here in the lower 48, you don't really have like a very strong hockey system.
It was very interesting. I mean, I moved away from my parents when I was 15 years old to go play hockey in Michigan, better area. Michigan's hockey, along with Minnesota, Massachusetts. And I was drafted into the Ontario Hockey League. It's a big junior league up in Canada. I mean, really thought it was what I was going to do for the rest of my life up until I was probably about 18. And I realized I was more than just and this parlays really into the business. Like, I was more than just a name on a sheet and another number being passed through. And I wanted to make an impact in more than just being a player.
Nice. I love it. And now, before we jump into the core interview, because you've just given me some fascinating answers that definitely give us a peek into your childhood, name your favorite entrepreneur. Because clearly you've been inspired along the way, and you decided somewhere in your teens, it feels like, to maybe go, oh, maybe this athletic route, it could be a nice path for me, but I could that cat's doing or what she's doing. Who's one of your key inspirations from the entrepreneurship?
I love that question, Dana. My father is an entrepreneur as well. That's where it pushed me during my teens, like you were saying, to know that there's something else out there and I can still be involved in hockey. But if we're going to go big, broad picture, I have been the biggest Mike Cesario fan for a very long time at Liquid Death. He's the founder.
Yeah.
There.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Very impressive. And I've studied a lot of what he did.
No, I love that. I love it. Shout out first to your dad, because I think most of our early entrepreneurial inspirations come from inside the household. So I love to hear that. But then, to your point, another great example in terms of the founder and CEO of Liquid Death. I mean, that's a brand that really turned the category that I know very well with previous time working for companies like Pepsi, but that people didn't really think you could innovate. I mean, had you told me, a guy who worked in the beverage category for several years, that, oh, hey, there's going to be this brand that comes around and it's going to be water in a can and it's going to sell better than Aquafina and Dasani, I'd have been like, man, get the hell out of here. There's no way that's going to ever happen, right? And bam, here we are. So, no, great example, great story. So look, I really appreciate you being transparent and giving our audience a little bit of insight into who you are as a person. But are you ready to get into the core interview?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Now, look, you started Best Damn Tape with an instinct, clearly. And I want to start there because one thing I want to understand is obviously the origin story, but then how that origin story really evolves to, number one, this really niche product, but then with this really cool and out of frame name. So tell us a little bit about the origin story and how you got to Best Damn Tape.
Dana, I did allude to it a little bit there. And beyond me wanting to be more than just an athlete, just a hockey player. And the thing with hockey is that these players spend a limbo period in a league called juniors, and they don't do college classes. They don't do anything but play hockey. And I was stuck in that area and I wanted to get out of it. And so not only that, but it was an area that my whole life I felt like I was doing customer discovery. It was interesting because going into it, my dad had this idea. He's like, I come home. He's like, why don't we just stay involved? He's like, we talked about it for a long time. Let's finally do it. Let's start the tape company. And it was really spur of the moment. I threw myself into it really fast, not knowing where I was going or what I was doing, but I wanted to create something. I wanted to be an entrepreneur and got the name, and we stuck with it. We have stuck to our guns for a very long time with the name, and taking away the N at the end of damn is really a marketing play. And for the long term, as we start to grow for these younger kids, they can say it to their parents, they can say it to their friends, say the actual bad word. And I think just for branding and marketing purposes, moving across past tape, like Best Damn Tape, we have a wax, which is one of our products, the hockey accessory, and we just call it Best Damn Wax. We're able to be flexible with how that goes.
You created a family culture within the naming convention, which I think is really cool. Now, tell me a little bit, because you said we're sticking with it. We've had it from the beginning. Clearly, you've gotten some suggestions, and probably from either the investor community or some of these accelerators and incubators, like, hey, I think you might want to rethink the name convention. Was there a specific moment in which, because I know how founders usually approach the name thing, right? Let's either, especially nowadays, let's use AI, kick out a million different options, and then pick one of them that feels good. What was your process?
I wanted to be bold. I wanted to be loud, and I wanted to be something that you remembered. You're not going to forget my name. That's something you may forget Logan Cuvo, but you're not going to forget Best Damn Tape. You're going to be like, that name. And so last year we were offered an investment of $50,000 in contingent that I changed
the name. Wow. Really?
No, yeah. That's the first time I've sold this out. On question. We were a $50,000 investment, and in contingent I changed my name, and I was not doing it. I built a brand at that point for 2 years, and obviously we're still growing. We're still not the biggest out in the market right now, but we're making waves. And I knew we had something from the very first day, especially with the name and how it gravitated towards some people. And if you don't like what I've done for the past 2 years and built this brand, and you're investing in this brand and you want to change the name, I don't think you should be along for the ride, especially at a first start. And I'll tell that to many different founders. It's something as little as a name that can trigger a long-term effect.
I love that. I love the fact that you stood your ground, especially in the face of real money, right? Like, how many founders out there are starving to get capital infused into their brand or into their company, and would frankly make that decision to go ahead and change it, or at least consider changing it to get to the dollar. So the fact that you said, nope, we're going to stick with it. I love that. Now, let's talk a little bit about kind of the origin of the brand's sales strategy, and then your recent work in terms of taking it to retail. So tell me a little bit, because I'm sure, when you started this, my guess is, just knowing the hockey space from afar, there's a very niche, fragmented market. You probably were either told or probably thought through that, hey, D2C probably is the best way to go, because you can reach the most people in places that I'm not even physically at. So how did you first think through distribution? Like, how am I going to get this tape into my consumers' hands?
Dana, it's very interesting. I want to say we're a very non-traditional company for when we started our real growth. We've done a lot of growth through B2B. We've partnered with NHL teams. We've partnered with AHL teams. We've partnered with NCAA teams. And with tape, our volume is so small. Our units cost $3 to $4, $5 a piece. And when a team is buying at a rate of 1,000 rolls, 3,000 rolls, that really gives us a jump start as a small startup. And our first really big deal was the Anaheim Ducks in the NHL. That's who we closed as our first real big name past NCAA teams was the Anaheim Ducks. And we sent them. We literally reached out. We sent them a package for their training camp for all their rookies, for their rookie camp, and
unsolicited. So you guys just found the contact and in the system, sent them a sample package.
Yes, it's very interesting. So all we deal with on that side are equipment managers. So we're dealing with the equipment managers directly of all of these teams, from college, NHL, and then we send it there. And really the big thing with these teams is you can know whoever you want, but if the players like it, that's when it hits the locker, because they're professional. They pick what they want. And if they really like a tape and they want to stand behind something that they use, same goes for skates or sticks.
They will let the equipment manager know.
We'll let them know, and they will get it. And that's exactly what happened. And they're still our partners to this day.
So the initial strategy was business to business through these athletic trainers in these departments, where a great strategy where you were driving volume, right? And really able to jump in and compete early on. Now, tell me then about how that then started to transition into more of a thought process around retail.
Yeah. And then obviously with D2C, I'm getting just website orders as well. And then retail came across my plate. So there's a really big one called Pure Hockey. We're still working on getting into there, but really our first big idea, it's a hockey-based retail store. We can get in here, keep pushing volume, keep pushing numbers, and really give us a lot more brand notoriety at the end of the day. All hockey players are going in to shop there. And then through SeedSpot, who we shouted out earlier, they were able to connect me with the director of U.S. sourcing at Walmart. And I went to pitch Johns Hopkins University to him. and it was amazing. We got the invite to come see them again in Columbus when they were coming through on the road to Open Call, and get there, interviewed by the amazing team at Walmart, and taken back, and they gave me the fast pass for Open Call down in Bentonville. So really it's transitioned, I want to say spur of the moment, but it was also planned at the end of the day, because when I was going into SeedSpot with the intention that, okay, retail, of course, Walmart, the golden goose, but Dick's Sporting Goods, that's obviously, or Honey, that was where our head was at when we were going by SeedSpot. And that's what I can recommend to a lot of founders out there, not just SeedSpot. There's a lot of other ones out there that really help CPG brands specifically push towards retail. SKU as well. That's one of the top CPG ones in the world. So it's definitely use your resources, and you'll find ways into these places.
I love that, because you're right. There are tons of programs out there. And I wouldn't say tons in terms of in your city or in your specific area, but on a national level and international level, there are a lot of programs that founders can seek out for that kind of support. And to your point, through SeedSpot's network, you're able now to test out the waters with the biggest retailer in the world. Now, let's talk about that, because you now have that open call opportunity this fall, and you're thinking through, okay, if I get in Walmart, tell me some of the considerations that you've started to think through in terms of a small brand that may need to prepare for what could be a pretty huge leap, right, with Walmart. What are some of the things that you and your team are thinking through right now as you prepare for this open call this fall?
Dana, we're definitely full planning mode. There's a lot. We're getting onto Walmart.com. One thing that I can recommend also to a lot of founders is, if you're going to pitch some of these buyers, whoever, and they have an online retailer, make sure you do whatever you can to get your product in that online retailers. They can get those KPIs, those metrics. You can get those KPIs and bring those to the buyer. Look, it's already proven. The proof is in the pudding. It's here. And I didn't have that my first time. So we are going to be listed now this week on Walmart.com to buy on there.
Nice.
And on top of that, it's not that we have the capability to get any type of PO financing. We've already assured that, but I really think our company is going to prepare for some type of raise sometime soon. I think that's definitely in our future with retail, because
I'm assuming the scale for inventory.
Or I'll tell this to anyone out there, that you're going to get however big that is, 200, 400, whatever it is from Walmart, just to get your inventory, just to get that amount of stuff. And then you're going to need another at least 50 grand to push marketing, to have all of these people to go hit the sales, to go
merchandising, marketing, point of sale materials.
100%. Yep. And that's where I just really want to make sure all of our fronts are covered, and don't want to be scrambling. That's the last thing, especially with it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to work with a company like Walmart. You don't want to be scrambling. Obviously, you're a small company and you're still learning your way, but you still want to be as ready as possible.
No, I appreciate that answer, Logan, because it's something I didn't even think about. And I think I'll take a quick, call it alter of the path of the interview, to just double click on something that you said, because I think it would really be helpful for our audience to understand, number one, that retail, call it dual distribution opportunity component. You can also get into a retailer's online portal and website without getting distribution in store. And I think a lot of brands don't understand that. And usually that is at a lower barrier than it is to actually getting in store, right? Because most retailers have a limited number of stores. Even Walmart, Target, we're only talking 3,500, 4,500 stores strategically placed across the country and in international locations. You can't get into those spaces on a turnkey basis. However, many of those retailers, including Walmart.com, do have a much more navigatable system or process to get distribution in their online environment. And so as you went through that process and secured your distribution on Walmart.com, Logan, was there any consideration or any challenges with regard to your forecast and kind of inventory, et cetera, to support this new distribution that you obviously don't have a full picture of how much it's going to sell, but you want to prepare on some level? So was there any requirements on Walmart's part that you have so much inventory, or were anything that you did internally to prepare yourself for orders potentially coming through this new distribution point?
when you're going through the process of Walmart, I think, especially Walmart.com, when you're going, it's very easy. It's very simple. You need your business, you need your business details, and you can go on there and become a seller like that. I think the really big thing, though, that a lot of people graze over, it's the same thing as Amazon, is you need to have a strategy. You need to have something planned out, written out, ready to go when you hit the market, because you're going to need to start pushing ads and just as much as you're putting effort into your inventory and your marketing outside of Walmart. You are going to need to put about the same into that if you want to be successful and really resonate with the buyers and just be like, oh, well, there's no way around this. I have to. I need that. Yep. Want it.
Because the buyer's objective is to drive traffic 100%. To their particular aisle, their particular category. And if your brand is growing or showing strong interest in an online environment, buyers will readily accept a hypothesis that people should also get off their couches and come into the store, which is a win for the buyer, a win for you as well. So I love that. Now, as you went into now your retail is or your online is turned on at Walmart.com, and then you're going to talk to them about retail strategy and distribution this fall. What are you thinking, or what have you done to prepare for that conversation in terms of key data points and metrics that you think the buyer will want to understand? You obviously are going to come in with your sales from Walmart.com. What are some other metrics or key data points that you want to take into the buyer this fall?
I went into, I want to say maybe I over prepared for my road to open call meeting, which ended up being amazing, but I ended up bringing them the metrics so for hockey, there's not going to be people buying hockey tape at a big rate in Texas, in Arkansas, in those areas down there. So I came to them. This is a personal strategy. I suggest that a lot of people do this too. Some people could be nationwide launch, but I think the best bang for your buck and Walmart's buck to really prove that you can fly off these shelves, go into concentrated areas where you know your product is going to sell. You can pull your founder can pull their Shopify sales, even if you don't want to go on Walmart.com, whatever, pull your Shopify sales, try and tailor it as much. Whenever you're meeting with a buyer, I think it's just really tailoring your pitch and how you are going to, it's a relationship. They want to be able to enjoy you also as a person, but know that they can trust you with their business. That is
correct.
It's the biggest brand in the world. They want to know that they can trust you and your knowledge. And if you're able to bring them competitive advantage with your product on their shelves compared to other products. One thing that I did, I went out to Walmart and I bought the competitor's tape and brought it with me to the road to open call meeting and just showed them the comparison of the quality of quality. I just showed them. It was very blatant, and
I love that.
And I also went on to Walmart.com and just brought up all the competitors and didn't really badmouth the competitors, just talked about my product versus the competitors. Here's where they are in the market. I know it's going to be a lot of education at the same time because not all players know everything about hockey, especially tape. So
correct.
And along with every founder who has a product, they don't know everything about your product. You really want to be able to educate them and get them on the same wavelength as you.
I love that. I mean, that piece is so important. And you, I think, are probably a founder who deals with this more than most founders, right? Because you truly are bringing a product to a category that, while not new in terms of the sport or the use of it, but definitely, to your point, new to a lot of retail buyers, especially, who likely across the majority of the country, especially at the national level, haven't really bought hockey products on a regular basis. So one thing I've realized we neglected to do at the beginning of the interview, Logan, in order to give our audience context, tell them a little bit more about your product portfolio and your lineup, because I think this is something that you and I spent 30, 45 minutes talking about when we first met, because I was fascinated by this concept of tape being a competitive advantage and then all the other products that you are also developing or considering adding to your portfolio under that. But talk a little bit about it, educate call it the average person on the couch who doesn't really watch hockey. Why is hockey tape important and what's so different about best damn tape?
Yeah, I love that, Dana. And it's so one thing I will put out there right now. I always say tape is what I have is not IP backed. It is not IP. There's nothing of that behind it. And that's why I like Mike Cesario so much. He is a master brand builder, a master marketer. And that's what I'm trying to do here at this company, but every product that we do have is just a little bit better and different. Maybe it's not for some people. Maybe some people like their old stuff, but I can guarantee you that our tape is not going to fall off of your shin guards. That is what I experienced with our clear tape. That's the stuff that goes around your shin guards, as I was just saying. And that was what sparked me to also be like, hey, my number one competitor, I was never a fan of their product.
So Logan, just for the non-hockey player, you're taping your shin guards on every single time you get on the ice?
Every single time you get on the ice for practice, for games. Wow. Some people are taking them off in between periods and the quarters and then retaping again. Same with the stick. Well, and that's the other product we have is the tape that most people know and see is the tape on the bottom of the stick. And they also put it on the top of the stick as well. And it's very interesting. And we just try to be a little different. Like our clear tape is a lot stretchier. So you are able to stretch it around your leg. And the players don't need to use as much tape to keep their leg nice. Our big thing. Nice. Saving money, saving time, and they're not worrying about it falling off. That's definitely our best seller for sure, our clear tape. And then the cloth tape, I just tried to find a problem that I noticed as a hockey player. And we really focus on not having a fray resistant formula. We don't want the frays to pop up thinking you're pulling it off the roll. It was just never a fan. And then our wax is 100% beeswax, and we have 3 different scents. And for wax, you put it on the bottom of your stick for extra longevity for that tape that you put on the bottom and extra grip as well. So
wait a minute. So wax application after the tape?
Yes, after the tape. So you put that on, and it makes it last longer, gives you a better grip. But we have 3 different scents of that. The little kids love them. And older people are starting to really like this last flavor. But we have peppermint.
Flavor scent. So you're smelling it on the rink while you're playing. Really?
Peppermint, butterscotch, and our newest one is Fruity Pebbles. Fruity Pebbles has been unbelievable. Yeah, it's made from my manufacturer is a beekeeper. He's amazing. And it's 100% beeswax along with essential.
And this is infused into the tape.
Yeah, it's
yeah. And then so hold on. So, and just one more kind of understanding of the game so at the professional level, collegiate level, high school, is there any regulation regarding tape usage, amount of tape? Because I'm like baseball and like roast, right? Like they go out there, check the guy's glove. Like, man, let me see what you're doing to try to do it, right? Is there anything?
Nothing. That is all up to the player. Some players don't even use wax. When I played, I didn't use wax that much. I was never much of a wax user, but it's become very big, especially with the younger audience. And you want something to draw their attention. That's why the scents, the smells. Yep. We've done a really fun marketing campaign just this past time with just a bunch of Fruity Pebble cereal. It's been really fun.
Amazing story and education. So let's stay with that theme, but swing it back into retail. Yeah. So now you're getting ready for the roadshow presentation. You're also obviously opening up the doors to the online environment for Walmart.com. Has that now opened up the door for you from a strategy standpoint to pursue other retailers in the non-athletic space? Because you talked about pure hockey, right? And some of the retailers that are focused in that hockey space, which I know aren't national and aren't abundant. Is the Walmart kind of target route for your new path? Or what are you thinking there in terms of your next retailer, if any next retailer outside of Walmart?
Well, that's a great question, Dana. I think a lot of people will tell you, anyone listening would probably know this. Walmart's the golden goose. Walmart is where everyone wants to be. And like I said, it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to even be able to go to Open Call and sell my products on their website, even though everyone else can do it. But I really think that opens up the door wide for everyone. I think when we're shown that we're being trusted by the number one company in the world, I think that it's going to speak for itself. In the fact that when we go somewhere, we tell them we have distribution deals with Walmart, the dominoes are going to fall. And I think still at the end of my trail, I think Dick's that's anyone from Dick's listening out there. I would love to chat. Dick's is definitely
shout out Dick's, right? We big brand favorite of the show. Make sure you holler at young Logan and talk to him about this best damn tape. And I agree with you, Logan, because I think to your point, there's a inflection point happening and there's an opportunity for new consumers and new consumer needs to migrate into some of these retail spaces. And I know some of these retailers do a great job of referring in-store opportunities to the website, right? Hey, we don't have it in store. We don't have all of the colors or all of the different options, but we do have additional ones online, right? So I see that as, to your point, a nice hand-to-hand strategy. And I'll even for my audience who might say, well, okay, yeah, you got a Walmart, but that doesn't mean everybody else is going to take you. Logan is actually very accurate in that assessment, because I will tell you, even at the top 50 Fortune companies that I work for, Pepsi, Colgate, Procter and Gamble, they, and I won't name the retailers who said this on record, but there were definitely retail buyers, non-Walmart retail buyers, competitors of Walmart, let's say, who would actually not buy a new SKU unless they knew Walmart was taking it, right? So there were times as a Procter & Gamble sales director or as a Pepsi sales director, I would walk into a meeting with, again, unnamed retailer, competitor of Walmart, who would say, after a really great presentation, features and benefits, all of this great category information, the consumer's going to love it. And they would say, is Walmart taking it? Right. And I just presented you with all this great. And okay, David, if Walmart's not taking it, we're probably not interested. Right. Now, conversely, there have been examples where Walmart, in their eagerness to break a new category or really drive sales, have potentially put new brands at risk. And so I think one of the cautionary points that I want to point out here, I want you to, after I share this, answer this question that I'm following up with in this space. But one of the things that I find founders underestimate is the amount of pre-work that you need to do before you ever present your product for distribution, even on Walmart.com or online. And so I want you to talk a little bit about, because I know you're a really young guy who got into this space fairly quickly. How did you figure out, and tell my audience how you figured out how to do packaging, UPCs, EDI, barcodes? Like, just walk us through, like, what the heck? How did you figure it out? Because this is, again, Logan, what'll happen is people will watch this interview and they'll go, man, kids your age, that Logan, that dude figured it out. I'm about to go do it. And then the one wall I see a lot of young entrepreneurs hit is, wait a minute, what do you mean I need a barcode or a UPC? Or who does that? How do I get? So talk to us a little bit about your experience of just figuring that piece out, like really putting things together so you could really do business with these big customers.
Yeah, and it's so funny you asked that one too. We're in the process of, that's the process of getting ready for Walmart, as we were just talking about. Just got all of our UPCs ready, all ready to go. Not too long ago. And now before we weren't using barcodes for our products. And now basically just filing it into my manufacturers. Hey, we need to put this on every box. We need to put this on our products. And also, I know you didn't say this, but for retail ready packaging, that's another thing for a lot of brands. Sometimes they're just shipping out their raw product. And that's what we're going to do. So for our tape, we're going to take it and go retail ready packaging with the barcodes. We already have a barcode on our box. And I don't want to sound like, I don't want it to make it seem like I'm a genius. Barcodes are pretty simple, everyone listening. You just need to commit yourself to doing it and making sure everything is streamlined between your manufacturer. If you're a self-manufacturer, you make sure it's ready. But a retail ready packaging company are also very good for a range of things, from an end piece, from things to keep loading it across the store. It is very good to have one of those companies in your back pocket, even if you're not using them right away.
Agreed. Very good suggestion.
EDI, we're in the process of becoming EDI capable right now. That's quite
this is a process, right? And I think people understand. Warning, the following information is important. You may want to pay attention. EDI, being EDI capable, can open up your ordering for your larger retail partners who, frankly, in some cases will not do business with you unless you're EDI compliant. And essentially what that allows the retailer to do is to electronically submit their invoice or purchase order information to you, and then subsequently track that inventory or that shipment into their system, right? And so some retailers, if you don't have it, you're not compliant, you just won't be able to get it to distribution in that retail. EDI, being EDI capable, can open up your ordering for your larger retail partners who, frankly, in some cases will not do business with you unless you're EDI compliant. And essentially what that allows the retailer to do is to electronically submit their invoice or purchase order information to you, and then subsequently track that inventory or that shipment into their system, right? And so some retailers, if you don't have it, you're not compliant, you just won't be able to get it to distribution in that retailer.
No, you're 100% right, Dana. I'd like to say one more thing just on kind of that whole process. I know that I've been like a bookworm into retail, everything. Just for any founders out there, make sure your products are where they say they're from, especially everything coming in to put them together, the parts you have to manufacture them. Make sure you keep in touch where those things are from, because there's companies such as Walmart who are now strictly investing in American jobs. So most of their companies are going to be a lot of US based companies, and they want wholly imported, which wholly imported means most of everything you have that makes your product here in the United States.
Here in the United States.
And that's a really big thing that I think a lot of people, it's a gray area sometimes.
And Logan, share on that. It's following up on that fantastic advice, man. You were just dropping major gems on the show today. People were probably literally rewinding this back 3, 4, 5 times. We're going to actually slice and dice a couple of these quotes. So don't panic, everybody. It's one of those classes where you don't need to take notes, that you can play this back later, because Logan's dropping real science. So, Logan, drop this one on them, because I think people who are listening and taking notes are going to probably hit a wall and go, well, wait a minute. Whoa. Is he making this stuff at home, or is he making this stuff himself or something? Like, how did you figure out the manufacturing piece? Yeah. Talk to us a little bit and take the audience through what that process looks like.
Then it's a lot of relationship. I think your manufacturer, obviously they're their own entity, they're their own company, but I think that you should work as close with your manufacturer as you work with your COO. I think they are key to almost everything that happens. They are key to everything that happens, any product development. If you're also another thing, if you're working with bigger manufacturers and you have a design product that's only for you, you need to make sure you have line space. And line space is seeing their capacity. You need to make sure their capacity is going to be able to match someone like a Walmart for a nationwide launch. You need to make sure that they're not doing too many things that are competing with you, so you can get line space and to keep making that and keep it going for you. And with my manufacturers, I will say I've been blessed. I'm very close with my manufacturer here in the United States, and I also have one in China as well. I'm actually going to head out and visit them within the next year or so. But I'm very close to my United States manufacturer, and I was just up there last week, just checking out the line, checking out everything. It's definitely, I feel like, a piece a lot of people look over sometimes.
Oh, very much so, right? And it's a very key partnership. I love to hear the fact that you actually are visiting physically, right? Because I know a lot of founders who have a pretty good relationship, but have never, literally in some cases, never met their 3PL provider in person because they are in another country. In a lot of cases, China, right? So a lot of founders are doing business on WhatsApp. They're not really able to connect with these people, and sometimes there's a language barrier. So I do think that there's some significant benefits to trying to do most of your production, if not all, in the U.S. The obvious drawback as it stands right now is that U.S. manufacturing is largely not competitive on a price point standpoint with a lot of your foreign providers, depending on the category. So I think that has been probably a learning process for you. Tell me and tell our audience a little bit about what were some of the early, call it either wins and or aha moments you had after you did get with the right manufacturer. Because I know they probably dropped some games and you were talking some things that you were like, oh, thank you. I didn't know that, or I didn't realize that.
I have some stories out there. Some 3PL horror stories.
But give us one. Because I need people to hear these stories, because people hear the 3PL thing and hear, oh man, it can be risky, huh, Dana? And I'm like, you don't even know half of it. Give us just one example, one story, names excluded, even though we probably know that we would want to hate on whatever particular company
about it.
Right.
I was about fresh 6 months, probably my second shipment coming into the United States from my Chinese manufacturer. That's where our tape is made. And my 3PL's big company who was managing my order. Everyone who out there, third-party logistics, they're managing my order. Very big company, definitely a lot bigger than I should have been dealing with at that stage of my company. I have an amazing 3PL partner. It's awesome now, and that's another big thing. Whole other rabbit hole, but it's coming over the border, and I get the tax release from our security, from Homeland Security, Department of Defense, and my tape is now being taxed at 75%. For some random reason, what is happening? I'm freaking out. And get in an argument. I've been in a streaming match. I'm 19 years old. I'm in a streaming match with much older than me. I'm like, I need my money back. I can't, my business cannot keep going if I have to pay that 75%. It's like, well, the only way you'll be able to do that is if you write a handwritten letter to Homeland Security and tell them that it was wrong. And because they messed it up, or my importer messed, whatever they made up. I was so fed up at that point that I wrote a letter, waited to get my money back, to get it released from there. And little did I know, 3 weeks later, got a check in the mail from them. Nothing else, just a check. And
And that was the end of the relationship.
No more stuff to go
but
through.
You need. Yeah. And so you made a great point, right? Which is there's a lot of stuff that you just don't know as a new founder, and you have to find a relationship you can trust. It is hard to get the biggest provider in your space to be your partner the first time out. And I so agree, right? Every category, no matter what you are, if you're a listener and a founder, no matter what your product category is, there's a 3PL provider out there for you. There's a group of them. Absolutely. In that group, you typically want to stay away from the largest. And the reason, not just because they may likely have the least competitive pricing, but they also, to Logan's point, already have sizable clients with specific demands on their line capacity. And what is line capacity? It's that 3PL's ability to actually produce and ship the product that you actually have hired them for. A lot of people don't understand that when you go into these warehouses, there aren't 50 lines that they can just turn on and produce your product whenever your purchase order comes in. They, in some cases, literally have 2 lines, and they are running those 2 lines 24 hours a day across 10 to 15 different clients, right? And if they have a client that they're doing $5 million worth of business on an annual basis with, and you come in as a new founder, no business, first time purchase order, maybe you might do $35,000, $50,000 if this particular production company is lucky. But at the end of the day, you've got to now get your purchase order in 12 weeks to 18 weeks out in order to get a good time, right, on the production line. So I love that advice you gave, because I think one of the most common mistakes that new founders make with 3PLs is signing contracts without fully understanding and inspecting what they expect that 3PL to do.
No, you're 100% right, Dan. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a professional master, got it all figured out. I am in the same boots as many founders worldwide that are trying to do the same thing as me. And that's just make a living and create something awesome. So it's all a learning curve, and I love to share the advice.
No, I love that advice. Now, one thing you brought up, Logan, I'd love to hear from your perspective as a very young founder and entrepreneur in the space who is extremely smart and intelligent at looking at this on a kind of a future level. As you think about, and I think I'm not happy about the tariff strategy that the current administration is pursuing, but I am very happy about your generation getting exposed to this strategy, so that you, as our future leaders and our future business owners and entrepreneurs, you can be better prepared to handle extreme tariff strategy like this in the future. So talk to me a little bit, because your product is both a product that could be produced in all of the different product lines. You could produce it in the US. You could probably produce it in several other countries and find pretty competitive costs. But you also have other countries and other continents in which the business of hockey is vibrant and that you can sell in as well. So talk to me a little bit about your vision of your brand and your company on an international level, and where you see the opportunities, especially given a lot of this noise around the tariff strategy right now.
No, I've been, like I said, I have an amazing relationship with my manufacturer now in China, but I've definitely been open and looking at different areas. It's been really hard to find something in the United States. My clear tape, so just putting it all on the table, my clear tape will be the only one that's made in China forever. Be made in Taiwan, maybe. That's where I've been exploring. So the long-term goal, this plays into our long-term goal as well. The long-term goal of the company, of Best Damn Tape, is we want to be the Red Bull of tape. We want to be in every locker room, for every sport worldwide. We want to be gymnastics. We want to be in rock climbing. We want to be in jiu-jitsu, boxing, football, basketball, everything. And obviously just attacking the beachhead market of hockey because I know it. And that's where we're growing. We want to grow into the athletic and medical tape space and be the tape company that is the tape company that people know across all sports, not just hockey, because there is amazing brands that have created awesome stuff so far, but everywhere, a worldwide tape brand like a Red Bull, where you're showcasing all of these athletes wearing your product, whether it's on their fingers for jiu-jitsu, on their ankles for football, gymnasts using it for their hands, anything.
I love it.
Be that company that people think that know, they're like, oh, it's best damn tape. That has to be the tape that's on their hands.
I love that. I love that. And do you envision in your global strategy, tell me a little bit about your vision of the growth of hockey as a global sport and how you see that kind of hand in hand with your brand?
Dana, another amazing question that you're going to love, but we're in the process of locking down our Canadian distributor right now for some stuff, hopefully here soon.
Yes.
That'll be exciting. Obviously, everyone knows Canada hockey is pretty synonymous, but we've had a couple of different teams pick up some interest in the UK, and really the worldwide distribution plan is, so no matter who I work with, I know I'm not going to be able to be everywhere at once. I know most founders want to be everywhere at once, but we can't.
Now that AI and cloning is advancing pretty fast, but that's another show. We'll talk about that later when you come back with your cloned version of you to do this interview. But you're right. For right now, you can't do it.
and I think making sure that you have a very good, like I said before, Dana, a lot of what business is and my business and what I've done so far is soft skills and relationships and really understanding what the other person wants and how you can both benefit from it. I think that's the biggest thing, especially with a distributor. Distributor isn't going to want to do you a freebie. Like it's an obvious. You need to be able to give them cuts of sales. You need to be able to do that. And I think we've already talked to some guys in Sweden, but I just want to be able to make sure we have a very solid relationship, just like they're working in my company.
I love that. I love that. Now, that advice is so spot on for brands that are in the process, right, of potentially transitioning from direct to consumer into retail or into wholesale. But I want you to take a step back, and we're getting ready to wrap up the interview, but I want you to talk a little bit about the advice you would give founders who are building a brand right now and have a pretty good feel for retail, D2C, B2B. And I think, your brand story, especially as it relates to your strategy around focusing on trainers and athletic schools, departments, et cetera, I think was just a super growth driver for you. So what advice would you give founders before they because some founders jump right in to one or the other. Hey, I just want to be in retail, or I just want to do direct to consumer. I don't want to mess with retail. What advice would you give founders about figuring out which one and how to go about it?
Dana, I'm a college kid. I'm very scrappy with what I do. I am looking to get money, get revenue in every way possible to drive my business and my brand. And revenue equals people seeing your brand. That revenue is the biggest talker when it comes to numbers, everything. No one, an investor, most people want to care about the pretty things or think they care about that, but it's down to your numbers first off. But like I said before, it really is all about relationships, your network. What I will tell founders is that we're not all going to be the next Steve Jobs. We are going to be ahead of the next one that's chasing our tail, no matter where that is in life. I think it puts you miles ahead and makes you wear so many hats, from being a social media person to being the spokesperson to being the salesperson, the marketer. Finding your way around that and getting through the fire is a lot of those relationships and those soft skills, and meeting amazing people like yourself, Dana, that can help you bring your company to the next level.
I love that. It's such great advice, man, because you are the perfect example to me of a young founder who is not taking no for an answer, who is not looking at this journey as a one road or one path or one direction journey, and who is clearly resourcing every available opportunity around them, whether it's SeedSpot or some of the other SKUs organizations that you've been able to get involved with. And it just really excites me to have you on the show today for that reason, because I think a lot of people your age. And I am one of those older entrepreneurial focused members of the culture who would just really love to see your generation take off and be successful, because I honestly believe that is the future of our American entrepreneurial system, is really sitting on the shoulders of men and women like you. So I really appreciate you sharing your story and your journey today. Now, let's talk about how people actually find you, find Best Damn Tape, how do they get in contact with Logan, and how do they follow the brand?
Yeah, this will be a lot of socials added into one. You can find me on Instagram. Find me on Instagram, Logan Cuvo, Best Damn Tape without the N. Yep. Facebook as well, Best Damn Tape. LinkedIn, I'm on there at Logan Cuvo. Please give me a follow there. I'd love to connect with anyone who's listening to Dana's podcast. And follow Best Damn Tape on LinkedIn as well. We're really trying to grow through a lot of different bases, and I think LinkedIn has been awesome for us so far. So please, and also visit our website, www.bestdamntape.com. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at logan@bestdamntape.com.
Love that. And make sure Dick's bio, I know you were taking notes right there. It's Best Damn Tape without an N. So make sure. And also I want to do a quick shout out before we wrap as well, but I would be remiss if I didn't say shout out to our northern neighbors, Canada. And a country that both Logan and I have a lot of love for. Obviously, a country from a product standpoint that is going to be a huge play in Logan's brand growth and his journey. But more importantly, just a great nation full of great people that I really hopefully find the way as a nation to ignore all the craziness coming out of the White House right now and just know that the rest of us on the ground, we right here with y'all. Forget all the noise up top. We right here with y'all, right? So shout out to Canada, and also shout out to Popsville as well. I'd love to meet your dad one day as an inspiration. I'm sure our conversation could be just as exciting and knowledgeable and insightful as our conversation has been today. So thanks again, Logan, for joining the show. And for our listeners, make sure you follow, share, and like our content. You can follow this interview and find Logan's information once this episode hits your airwaves on the brandblueprint.biz, not .com, because we're about that biz. And make sure you check us out, share. If you don't do any of those things, I tend to think you're a hater. You don't want to be a hater. So make sure you at least share this episode with somebody who you know could benefit from Logan's great advice. Thanks again for joining us on another great episode of The Brand Blueprint, and we'll see you the next time.
Thanks for joining us on the Brand Blueprint journey. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay updated. Watch the full episodes on our YouTube channel for an in-depth experience. Don't forget to subscribe to our website at thebrandblueprint.biz for exclusive content and materials. We're everywhere you need us to be.